Lovers by Katarine Hancock.
It was called The Silver Spoon. It was just a book that I found back in elementary school, and it was just that one book, and it just really got me into literature.
It is a book of poetry, and
it was just about like a group of kids, and they were just poor and just found a way to make it up in the world.
And then she just kind of talks about how those loves impacted her life and how they changed her as a person.
They weren't really asking for like any handouts, and they were like in poverty and everything, but they just stayed humble and just kept working for what they wanted, and they just made it up.
The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak.
Dandelion Wine by Ray Bradbury.
She lives in Germany, and her family is protecting a Jew in their basement called Max, and the Nazis are burning books, and she's taking them because she loves to read, and she's reading to him and forming a connection with him even though she shouldn't be at all.
The book is about this young boy, and he's using the life around him, the woods, his family, to realize who he is as a person. And he's using it to grow up, essentially.
I have a lot of books that impacted me.
There have been a lot of books that have impacted me.
Not well, but Wonder, I read it in about 5th grade.
It's about the small mouse living in this abbey in the middle of this giant woods, and they're living this very peaceful life, and everything's going well, everybody's great, everybody's happy, until out of nowhere there comes like this pirate rats, and they're led by a one-eyed rat named Clunny.
It's about a special needs child who is entering school, and it gives us the different points of views of like the characters throughout the book.
I was never a good reader, always struggled so much. I think it came from me being bilingual.
My mom and dad, we had a counter, and my mom and dad would be cooking, and I'd like read it out aloud to them.
I guess I was just strolling through the library, and it caught my attention. That's the only way I can say. It just caught my attention. I was in a section of the library that I should have never been, because, like I said, it was way above my reading level. But I did convince the teacher, and she told me at first that I couldn't get it. It was above my reading level. I needed to get something within it. So I told her if I could get it, and I would work really hard on it, and if I got stuck, I would ask her about it. And she said yes. And I was true to my word. I read that book. I kept on reading it and reading it. And I don't know if it was just myself finding something that I actually liked, or being proud of myself for actually getting through that book when I had difficulty with it. For that, I just started reading. I picked up the second book. I finished it in 3 days, went back to the library, picked up the second book to that series, and started reading that. And that was my deal with my teacher.
It's kind of like shaped the way I see people now in high school.
After that, I have not stopped reading.
Reading that book actually helped me figure out what I want to do in my life now, because I'm deciding between two things, which is physical therapy and musical therapy for special needs children. So
I guess the one that I really liked was this book of poetry that my mother got me when I was 6 years old. This book, it's called A Special Collection of Illustrated Poems, and it says for children.
This book, Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel.
Western Civilization, Paleolithic Man to the Emergence of the European Powers. And then Charles Dickens' Great Expectations.
I read this book back in 2014, which was 6 years before the pandemic, and it's a pandemic novel.
The first one, Western Civilization, my mom and dad actually had a friend who was in college, and I think I was in 3rd or 4th grade, and he gave me this old college textbook. I started reading it, and of course I didn't understand a lot of what I was reading, but it really opened my eyes and I guess my understanding to history from the Paleolithic period up through the 1600s. Even now I go back and go through and read it, and there's still things I don't understand. The other one, I have very good memories of Great Expectations from 8th grade when I was attending a DoD school in Germany.
It's about this flu that completely just wipes out most of the planet, which doesn't sound like a very uplifting story. And really, what it's about is the things that withstand global catastrophe. Things like human connection, loyalty, human creativity.
So I think it impacted my life by giving me a perspective and really just made me feel more human than I did before.
I think it also made me understand some of the relationships in my life as well, and it just helped a lot, I think, put a new perspective.
It allowed me to give myself expression in other things, because before you're expressing yourself in what you're told to be expressed in, but when you have those options given to you and you're showed the humanity, then you're able to guide yourself on where you want to go.
And they were just beautiful poems, and they were imaginative and creative, and it was just one of those things that stirred a lot of imagination in me, and still one of my favorite books to this day that I like to peruse.
Just because you're grown up and taught not to like a certain person or a certain group of people, that your perspective on them could be different and change that. And also, showed how much she really loved her family and, would sacrifice her life for them.
I guess what it really makes me think about a lot is I have 3 children who are living in the midst of a pandemic, and what I love about this book is the human creativity that lasts, and what I love about my children, among many things I love about them, is their creativity.
It was my grandmother. She taught me to read.
I grew up reading. I spend most of my money on books.
Before she retired, she was also a teacher. So, of course, that her teaching ways would influence me.
I think you learn a lot of things about yourself. And I think it's nice to know those things about yourself, because if you don't, you're just, like I said before, you're a blank piece of paper, you're a robot.
There's lots of reasons to read. The biggest one is why not?
Reading has taught me a lot of things. It gives you new perspective, I think, and that's very important.
A book is, a place to go when you can't go anywhere. And during this lockdown, that definitely was the case. Your mind can go somewhere, even though your body can't. And you can learn about things and places and different types of people that you might not ever have a chance to meet in real life.
Picking up a book sometimes and just going in your room, turning on music and just reading can be really relaxing for me.
It enriches your personal experience. It makes you connect to things that are beyond your own life experience.
I'm very close to a lot of fictional characters. They're some of my best friends.
It gives you the opportunity to see things from a different perspective, and not just be closed-minded. And so you get to see things that you may never experience on your own, and it helps you to be more empathetic towards others.
And it was always so fascinating and intriguing that 26 little letters could create a world made by an author.
I just feel like once you read something, you'll never get out of it.
If you can get your hands on a book, you can go anywhere.